And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review, and this is Mr. Pandy from Gildy McGildstein East. Love it, Gildy McGildstein. That's awesome. But they're from Gildy McGildstein East. You got to make sure that East is on there. Anyway, if you're catching this, that means you are subscribed to my new patron roster review YouTube channel, and you're getting this because you have subscribed. Make sure that if there's anybody out there who is wondering where the heck my roster reviews went, that you let them know they're on this new channel. Obviously, we're going to be going over a lot of information. This will go unlisted for a few, so those individuals getting this information will probably be getting it a few weeks after Mr. Pandy has actually gotten this information. So if it seems a bit outdated or talking about Ray's event upcoming, yet Ray's event's out, that will be why. So Mr. Pandy is doing very well in Arena in the top 100. And if we look in the top 200 for the Fleet Arena, really wants to know kind of what are the best ships to focus on, and then any teams or characters that he's missing, kind of wants me to shore up where he's at. So all in all, really good. So Mr. Pandy was a whale, but has recently gone free to play. Not sure the reasoning on that, but that's absolutely fine. Went from whale status to free to play, and I think you've got enough great head start with the whaling out that you did early on that you are more than welcome to go free to play and probably do just fine. Mr. Pandy's been playing for 1 year, and we're going to start in ships. And so what you see is the Executrix with the kind of standard lineup the Executrix offers. I am going to suggest the ships that you should be running. So the first thing is the Imperial TIE Fighter is a ship I would suggest, and you have the Imperial TIE Fighter and the pilot. The ship's maxed out and the pilot's for the most part maxed out. Great ship, very irritating because it dodges a lot, so that would definitely be in your first lineup. Also the TIE Reaper. The TIE Reaper is one of the best ships in the game. You have their pilots at gear 10 and 11 respectively, and the ship at 5 stars. Totally viable, and in my opinion, the best ship, especially when running an Executrix. You also have the TIE Advanced. So for the TIE Advanced, this would be an excellent lead ship, guaranteeing the target lock, that the target lock doesn't go away. And it's relatively tanky. Takes a bit of time to cut through. You can't just kill it with a couple shots. It takes 3 or 4 shots to kill the TIE Advanced. Of course, with this team comes Biggs Darklighter's ship. It's the best obvious tank in the game that taunts and gains protection back every time a target lock occurs, which is why we're building a target lock team for you, which is kind of what you're running, and you understand the benefits of Biggs. Now the last is First Order TIE Fighter. First Order TIE Fighter, in my opinion, is the second best or most important character ship in the game for a target lock team. He gets a ridiculous amount of additional turn meter constantly. His strafe, which does upwards into the 90 to 100,000 damage, can be done on a crit and can be reset every single turn provided the other opponent has target lock. A double tap on his basic potential, which is really exciting. So this would definitely be in the first 5. So Imperial TIE Fighter, TIE Reaper, TIE Advance, First Order TIE Fighter, and Biggs. So 4 of the TIEs plus Biggs is really a very strong beginning. And the reason why TIE Reaper needs to be in there is because he does not give the turn meter reduction on the opponent's ship, capital ship, without being in that lineup, and you want to slow the opponent down as much as possible. For your backup, I would probably do the Umbaran Starfighter. It's super tanky, super durable, so it's just going to come in. There's going to be a lot of target lock already displaced, and so he's going to be able to dispel on his basic. He's a very tanky ship just in and of himself. He can apply target lock, and he can do an target lock AoE. So when one of your TIE fighters has been destroyed, he's going to come in and cause a trouble. Now, the reason also why he's good as a backup ship is in the initial 5, he's going to get a ton of turns, and those turns are going to feed turn meter to the opponents. It's kind of the one downside to him. So putting him in the back lineup prevents him from coming in until near the end of a battle, which will mitigate the amount of turn meter he gives to the opposing team. Next to Force is the Scimitar, which is a phenomenal ship. And what's really evil is you could obviously, when he comes in, which a lot of people do, is target the Umbaran Starfighter because he'll still be around. And that's going to just cause chaos because he's so hard to kill and everybody else will be protected. But if you don't, you're more than likely going to have the Imperial TIE Fighter still around because of the dodge. Everybody normally keeps that ship till the end to kill. They don't want to feed a bunch of turn meter to the opponent's capital ship. And so to be really evil, when the Scimitar comes in, do not target the Umbaran, rather target the Imperial TIE Fighter that has all that crazy dodge. And what's going to happen is it's just going to give a ridiculous amount of turn meter to your capital ship in doing so. And then lastly, I would either bring in Wedge Antilles or Poe Dameron's X-Wing. Now, Wedge Antilles, the pilot is not very high, but you do have the ship pretty much maxed out, but the character is at gear 8. And then for Poe's ship, what I notice is you have him gear 11, which makes it really a powerful ship, but you only have the ship at 3 stars and 1. So if you wanted a couple of ships to really focus on, I would highly recommend number 1, Poe Dameron's X-Wing. This ship comes in, does a ridiculous amount of damage to anything without protection. He's very fast, one of the fastest ships in the game, and speed matters even in ships. He also can put foresight up, making it hard for others to strike him, and he's just a great end ship to come in at the very end and mop up and clean up. So I would highly recommend this ship, you leveling it up and farming it. And to be honest, it does not take very long to farm this ship. Most of the ships are a relatively quick farm in comparison. The other ship that I see you're completely without is surprising me because you actually have Boba Fett, but it's his Slave 1. You do not have the Slave 1. You do not have to have the Slave 1, but it would be a good addition into this team. Not only does he do the target lock, multiple hits on basic, and he does an AoE, actually 2 AoEs, one for target lock and one that just does damage straight to the health of the opponent's ships. But Slave 1, just a really great overall ship. So if I was going to tell you 2 ships you should absolutely focus on, it would be Poe Dameron's X-Wing specific to the ship, and also I would focus on Slave 1. And I lied, there's actually one more ship I want you to focus on, and that's Biston's U-Wing. Now, this will require you to farm the ship. It will also require you to farm the 2 characters. And the reason why I'm going to throw this in as a last ship that you should focus on, and actually the first of the 3 ships you should focus on, is because you asked me about getting my Rebel ships up high enough that you can get the Chimera when it comes back. And this will be the 5th ship for you to get that Chimera. Your other Rebel ships look great, but this one does not. So for the purposes of Chimera, you definitely want to make sure that you finish off your Biston's X-Wing, and then you can move on to Poe and Slave 1. All 3 of these ships are going to serve you well in the long term, but definitely get Biston's U-Wing up first. Now, you kind of wanted to know a little bit about some of the characters that you should be focused on for, starring up and gearing up. And I'm only going to give you a few. I just want to give you a priority list so that way you kind of know who you should be working on and who you should be gearing. And the first is BB-8. You've got BB-8, 7-star. That's phenomenal. But now that you have BB-8, you need to max out attacks and abilities and finish gearing him. I know he's only at gear 8, and I know a lot of people say resistance doesn't need to be geared up, but obviously the more gear you apply, it's like adding fixed mods to a character. It increases speed and potency and health and all sorts of things, and so gearing up a character is really important for all those additions. And so you want to go ahead and finish up BB-8. Plus BB-8 is going to be needed for the Rey event. Speaking of Rey event, you have everything you need for the Rey event except 2 characters, and that's Veteran Smugglers, Han and Chewie. You have them at 3 stars, level 1. Now, Rey will be, I guarantee, a meta-changing character just like CLS, and you have the other 3 pieces basically to this puzzle with BB-8. You do, though, need to focus on the 2 vets to make sure that you get them both, which means you're going to have to freak farm those two characters crazy over the next 2 or 3 weeks, however long you have before Ray comes into the game. So make sure that you make these two guys your top priorities for gearing and starring, and get them to at least gear 8 for the event and 7-star. And I know they're going to take a lot of effort, but that's definitely going to be worth it. And if you fall short this time for Ray, she will come around in the next 4 to 6 months, and you'll be able to at least be ready for it the second time around. But seeing there's no effort in these two characters shows me that you're not interested in Ray as a character, or you don't think that you're capable of unlocking her. Either way, I would highly suggest putting them in the top 2 suggestions for gearing and starring. Speaking of Ray, because you have BB-8 and you have Ray Scavenger, and you potentially, hopefully, will work on those vets, you will need to finish Finn. By the way, you need to finish Finn regardless. When I say finish, I mean specifically starring. Get those 2 stars on Finn. He is an easy farm, relatively speaking, so you do want to finish him off. Get those last 2 stars for Finn, and then also those 2 veterans, and you should be able to get your Ray. Now, you're pretty balanced with light side and dark side teams, but you did talk about the dark side territory battles coming out and who would be, the individuals you'd want to focus on. And truth be told, the Imperial Troopers are the second best team in the game for the dark side territory battles, with the number 1 team being the Night Sisters. The number 2 team is the Imperial Troopers, in my opinion. You have a great start for an Imperial Trooper squad. And so Death Trooper is really high, Shore Trooper is really high, Snow Trooper just needs a little bit of gear to get him a little bit higher, and General Veers is at 5 stars. So my first priority for you would be to try to get Ray, of course, when I mentioned, already Finn, the veterans, getting them up, and BB-8, getting him up, geared up a little bit more. But for the second priority, it would be dark side territory battles, and specifically the Imperial Troopers, because this is your best bang for your buck. And if you were looking to put a Zeta on any of the dark side, and which dark side Zeta would go the absolute farthest, it will in fact be General Veers. And you in fact did the Zeta on General Veers, so awesome. I am proud of you for that. So if you're going to invest the General Veers Zeta like you did, you definitely want to finish off those last 2 stars so you can utilize him in the last 2 phases of the dark side territory battle. So Mr. Pandy, you're doing really good. You've got a great focus. I've already told you about the ships. You want to make sure you're finishing off gearing and starring all your pilots and all your ships, with the 3 ships you should focus on as the Biston's U-Wing #1, also the Slave 1 ship, and then also Poe Dameron's ship. Also make sure that you're gearing and starring BB-8, General Veers, Snow Trooper. You want to also get that last star on Baze Malbus. I didn't mention that, but you want finish off Finn so you can get Ray, and then work on the vets. My number 1 priority for you would be to really gear and farm up the stars for the veterans. And I know it may seem hopeless, but if there was ever a character in the game you would want, I can guarantee it's going to be Ray. And if there was ever any time you were going to buy a pack of crystals and use them for energy refreshes, now would be the time. You've probably got a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, to get Ray, get these characters ready for Ray. So that would be my suggestion. And remember, really work on those Imperial Troopers for the dark side territory battles. If anybody has any suggestions for Mr. Pandy, leave them in the comments down below. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.